this was a football game, the coach would be disappointed in you, Peter. Disappointed.
He's not disappointed in his Peter.
Hey guys, welcome to Show and Tell Comic Review. We have Jables joining us back again tonight. What's up, Jay?
Hi.
And thank God we have Christian back again. What's up, man?
What's up, guys?
And then you have me and Daniel Sourpusses over here. So what we got today, Christian?
So tonight we're tackling Marvel. We're doing Spider-Man Noir, Eyes Without a Face. And so basically this story takes place in 1933 in the middle of, racist ass America. Where basically Spider-Man has gotten rid of the Green Goblin, but now a new crime lord has taken hold of the city, striking fear into the guilty and the innocent alike, and his name is the Crime Master. Meanwhile, you also have Dr. Otto Octavius performing experiments on Ellis Island, promising, a better future for humanity, but doing it in a rather unorthodox way. Well, let's just say downright inhumane way. And so now Spider-Man has to figure out what's going on and put a stop to it before anybody gets hurt. And some of his friends, like this Robbie reporter, is lost forever. So now that we know what it's about, Dan, are you going first? Or who's going first?
I'll go. I like the whole idea. Like, it was a completely different Spider-Man than anybody's ever read before. This is all this new Spideyverse shit. They missed this one. this shit's wild. It's crazy. It's like one of the only interesting Spider-Mans I've ever. Because I've only ever actually gotten into Spider-Man a little bit as an adult, just because of fucking movies. Not like, because again, I've never been really a comic book guy. So, and I feel like it was always so kind of like how Superman was. It's just always the same kind of shit. So it was boring to me. There was no reason to go read. If you read one, you've read 100. So, this is not like anything I've seen Spider-Man do before, or fucking Peter for that matter.
Yeah. Christine, what do you think?
I agree. I liked it. I like the coloring on it, and they did really good with the shadow work, to be honest. And there is one part in here though, I marked it, that I don't know why, but it really just irked me. It's I think the third page where where Spider-Man finally drops in on that one guy next to the truck, and he was like, "I have a question. Who is he?" And then he spiderwebs the guy behind him. I thought that was a very unnecessary part because it was confusing, and I just feel like they put it in there for shits and giggles or something, because it just was like, I don't know, one of those things that just grinds my gears.
Given the context of the scene, when he was asking who is he was referring to the Crime Master.
Oh yeah, but just the way that it came out first, like there was no context before that, so it's just like, who the fuck are you talking about, and who are you talking to?
Yeah, when he kicks that dude and says, "Who is he?" He could be referring to the guy he just knocked out.
That's what I was thinking.
It's like, that was
true.
John. He's got a wife and 3 kids, dude.
Spidey, Jesus.
I thought it was interesting. It was different. Thank God there was no origin story. I'm so sick of origin story. Everyone on Earth knows Spider-Man, and all the mainstream, they know everybody's origin story. So just give it a rest, guys. You're not doing anything interesting anymore. Just put up. So I really did appreciate that. I liked the art in it. I liked Spidey's style, like the whole his vest area, I don't know, whatever that was, almost like a flat jacket looking, you know.
Nice outfit.
I just thought it was really, cool. Yeah, I enjoyed this one. It was different. I haven't read a Spider-Man comic since the 80s, you know. Like I said, I'm open about not reading very much 90s stuff until recently. And it was just mundane back then, to be honest with you. It was just the same thing over and over again. You know, I mean, you always knew what was going on, but this was something different, you know. And I appreciated the darkness and the difference.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, for me, yeah, same. I have to agree with that. It definitely, I can't say the same thing about this that I said about the Superman comic we reviewed, you know, where it's just like, oh, if you read any Superman comic ever, you know what this is about. But this one, like, not at all. If you read any Spider-Man comic, you would not see this coming, like, ever. I was mentioning earlier that the way I would describe this comic is if Spider-Man and Batman had a baby, this was it. You know, because like this was a Spider-Man story written in a Batman style, and I loved it.
Yeah,
it worked.
I agree.
It worked really. Like that one shot where he's jumping in on the guys, I'm like, that's Batman. Like,
I'm Batman.
like I don't care what anyone says, that's fucking Batman. The way he just dropped in on the mobsters like that, you know, and he's like perched up in the corner. I'm like, that's so Batman.
I love that imagery of the first 3 panels, I think it was. Let me get back to the page here. When he was watching them from above and shit, I like the perspective and how they like. He just looks cool, man. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, he
looks all
great.
sticking to the wall, Spider-Man. He's just got his arm rested up there, just fucking chilling. Like, oh yeah, guys. You know what I mean? Like it's chill, man.
All the visuals aside, though, I have to say, like the way the story was told and the way it was paced was awesome. I mean, the very first page, my wife and I read it together, and we were just like, "That's what you call an intro." Just this dead body on the floor with money stuffed into his mouth, and then it's got that like tag saying "Squealer." Like which that whole panel, I was telling her, I was like, that's all very symbolic, you know, because it's just like you pay people to shut up. You know, and you do it with money, so that it's like the fact that like the money was stuffed into his mouth was very symbolic of that. And then I love that the investigator was like, "Yep, it was $200 in 20s and 10s. That's what I paid him." So I was like, "Oh shit!" Like that was really fucking cool.
Yeah, that was a dark for a Spider-Man story.
Yeah, but the intensity just got more after you were done looking at the crazy art and started reading. It was like, oh man, his tongue's been cut out, and like, it was wild.
But then even like some of the twists that they put on characters that you already think you know, but then now they put this new spin on it, like Sandman. I have never seen Sandman like that before, where he's sitting here and he like crushes this dude's head like Kingpin style. I was like, dude, I've never seen that side of Sandman, and that was honestly really cool too.
And they aged Black Cat and de-aged Robbie Robinson to fit the story. And I thought Spider-Man was going to be older when I was reading the first part of it, and when he took his mask off, I saw that he was still young. But I thought he was pretty Spider-Manly until he started Spider-Simping for Felicia. And she was like, he was like out the door, right? He's like, I know what you're here for. And he's like, nah, that's all I'm here for. And I was like, and he's out the door. And I'm like, yeah, bitch, let him fucking go. Like, stop trying evil ass woman, you know what I mean? And then
he could have left, Bob. He could have left.
He could have. Yeah, he could have. Like Adam and Eve, man.
Yeah, man. It's like I said earlier. It doesn't matter how high the stakes are. There's always time for some pussy. You know how it is.
I was rooting for him to keep his mind on the job, man. If this was a football game, the coach would be disappointed in you, Peter. Disappointed.
He's not disappointed in us, Peter.
I got mustache for beer.
The art was dope, but like there was one part that I feel like they tried to do something cool with some movement, and I didn't like it. It was where they showed him move across the page, right? But he's only actually drawn here. The rest of it is like white and like smoky, hazy, and frame line. Yeah, I feel like if they would have
Wait, what page was this?
done full color and just drop the opacity maybe
When he
to
drops
show the
down,
back behind.
he drops down and kicks that dude's face through the window. Right before he kicks him, you can see right behind him. He's hit the top of the roof, did a flip, and he does it again on another page. He spins his web up, catches on to the bottom.
No, wait, hold on, because I think I might have missed that.
I also missed that.
Oh shit! I see it. Okay. Oh. Oh yeah, that was just not. It looked like smoke. I didn't think that was anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it looked like it could have been really fucking cool. They added a haze around it. Like if they were gonna do all white, they should have just left it like the outline, or they should have done color and just dropped the opacity down so it was like behind, like in the past.
Yeah, because I thought that was all smoke, because like this whole comic had smoke everywhere for like no reason, because that's just how you do the 1930s.
Yeah, so it kind of looked like it blended in with the background and it just didn't.
Yeah, I completely missed that, but I see it now.
On page 9, the second panel, he does it again, going up that fire escape.
Yeah.
It's hazy and hard to see. If they just it would have been all right, I think.
Yeah, I think what Dan was saying is true. If they did the diminished opacity, it would have gone a lot better.
Yeah.
And honestly, considering that it's a Spider-Man noir comic, they could have just done black silhouettes and it would have probably looked better too.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
It'd probably been easier to focus on.
Before I get into the art, I also wanted to mention that as far as the world building went, I really appreciated the world building in this comic. You know, because obviously they're dealing with, 1930s, a lot of, crazy racism and things like that. And so they did a really good job through the dialogue and, like, placing you in this world and, showing how, Peter, he's this white boy. He hasn't seen a lot of the things that Robbie has had to see because, he's a man of color. And so he's had to experience this stuff firsthand. And so, like, their conversation did a really good job at like building this world and setting the tone for what kind of things they're dealing with.
Robbie's an angry kid though, man. He needs to let that shit go and stop ruining everybody's time. Like this motherfucker is tricking Peter into taking him. I've always wanted to go to Ellis Island. Why? So you can stand on it and bitch about it. Like go to Ellis Island and enjoy it. Don't ruin everybody's time. If you want to make a speech about it, go get your soapbox and have a protest or something. But why you gotta ruin Peter's time? He's just trying to hook you up, bro. He's trying to hook you up, man.
The guy's over here like, man, we were getting lynched, and Bob's like, bro, why you gotta harsh my mellow?
Yeah, man.
Quit harshing the wheeze, man. But I feel like on the world building, they took it a step further too with having, the comfort level of the white people back then and the words they chose to use. You know what I mean? There's certain things that wouldn't fit these days, and he's just flagrant with it. Like it, and this is his homeboy. Like they're like close, they're tight. Like not him being malicious or disrespectful in any way. That's just building that world though, and putting that in there really did it. Upset the tone.
If you did that nowadays, you'd be canceled.
Yeah. I will say this, like another thing with the world building was that what they did with that conversation when Robbie tells Peter like, hey, let's go get some air. There's something I want to bend your ear about, which was a really good a phrase, that shows like the times they were living in. But then they didn't just step outside onto a fire escape or anything like that. They went to the freaking Brooklyn Bridge, and then they're overlooking the sunset. Beautiful use of colors. I'm gonna get into that. I'm gonna rave about that later. But just overall, like the fact, like to me, that's in a way doing the Pope in the swimming pool. It's like they didn't just have the conversation outside on a rooftop or a fire escape. Like no, they went to a landmark that has stood the test of time. And this story takes place in the 1930s, and
Which
so like
to live by. Yeah. Peter's known to live close to the Brooklyn Bridge.
Right. But the Brooklyn Bridge is also one of those things that, like, people from this time, that's like their pride and joy is the Brooklyn Bridge, because they built that shit. Like they took pride in that. So I like that they included that location as where they had the conversation, because otherwise the conversation would have been rather boring. But the fact that it was in that setting made it interesting.
Right. It was a nice shot too.
It was.
This was made in 2010, so it just shows a stark difference of the way you could speak 14 years ago and the way you can't speak now. So back then, you could react or interact with characters in that way, and there'd be no anger toward it. What's up, Alfred?
So what comic are you bashing?
Actually, we're loving on Spider-Man a little bit.
Yeah, we're loving on Spider-Man.
So this Spider-Man, this issue, what made him stand out?
Well, that's what we want to hear from you.
Yeah. What do you think, man?
I just woke up. I'm asking you. I'm sleeping today.
Well, we were talking about how this wasn't your typical Spider-Man comic. If you've read any Spider-Man comic before, you wouldn't see something like this coming. It was definitely a new take, a new setting, a new type of story in general. And the art is fantastic.
Is this the Spider-Man Noir comic book that you sent me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. The artwork in that is fantastic. I did actually check that one out.
We were actually just fixing to get into that.
Yeah.
I was just talking about the language that they were using in it and how it was perfectly fine to speak normally back then in 2000 or in 2010, and that if you tried to put this comic out here with words that were in that comic that we can't even say right now because we get canceled, you couldn't even get the comic out. So just we were finishing off by pointing out the differences just 14 years ago of how you can be canceled for just having two characters interact in a comic book these days. But we were fixing to move on to art though.
Yeah, the artwork. I had a chance to look through it. I told Bob when he first sent it, the artwork in this is fantastic.
Yeah.
The artwork was very good. I'd say my favorite thing about the artwork was like what Justine had said earlier, the use of colors. The way they use colors to set moods and tones in the dialogue and what was going on and the different settings. Like you could feel all the different settings that you were in. Like they all had temperature, I guess. Like that's the best word I could think of. Like every setting that they entered had a different temperature, and it was awesome. Like colors done well.
Yeah, I like the palette and the outline they were using on the characters. So.
Yeah, the line work was really good too.
Yeah.
But then also, like as far as the visual storytelling went, I gotta say, the visual storytelling could have been more interesting. Like Dan pointed out that whole thing, like them showing his movement in the panels. I completely missed it because it just looked like smoke. But apparently they like did the standard Spider-Man comic thing where they show him in like different poses throughout the panels. But so like the visual storytelling was lacking in some ways. It wasn't bad. I still enjoyed it. It's just that they could have pushed the envelope a little more, and I wish that they had. What was good about it was the fact that you never lost focus in the panels. they did a really good job at creating a flow and keeping your focus where it needed to be in each panel. Like I didn't feel lost in any of the panels.
Even though some of the panels were all over the damn place, it still flowed through the whole book. You didn't know, like there was never a moment where you didn't know where to read, you know?
Yeah, no, I mean, like, take like even like the simple pages where there isn't really anything amazing going on. Like page 12, even though this whole scene was low-key a little frivolous because there really was no need for him to go see this black cat lady. There really wasn't. Because he got nothing out of it. He was like, hey, I need your help. And she was like, no, but you want to fuck? Well, like, that's all that happened in that scene. But even in a scene so simple, you see the visual storytelling. Page 12, you got him standing and she's like laying in the bed all provocatively. But below that, they switched their positions, but still, you know, he's under her, she's under him. And then you got this shot with the cat creating the same movement that the first three panels were making. Like these flows, they were very consistent throughout the whole comic. And I really appreciated it.
So you're describing the movie you watched last night or something. He's on top of him, he's on top of her, you know, and it's very like, hey. The family show.
This ain't no family show.
Man. You don't see the last panel on page 12? That's what you call bedroom eyes, man. That ain't no family show.
Wow.
Don't let you. We spoke too much weed and drink too much alcohol on this show.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm glad you enjoyed this one. It's definitely a better overall talk about than last night.
Yeah.
Last night Bob like this is a piece of shit.
Yeah.
I was telling my wife the same thing. I'm glad. I was telling her before. I hope that I enjoy this comic because I feel like the last few comics we've reviewed, we've done nothing but bash them, and I'm starting to feel like a jerk about it. So I'm like, I really hope we can get one good one that we can like talk up.
Yeah. Spider-Man has been consistent. I mean, I used to read Spider-Man all the time. Early. I'm talking about
From the 90s or the 80s? Like from the 80s?
I'm talking about Spider-Man's Amazing Friends. And I'm talking about when they had Spider-Man as a fun character.
Yeah.
They said, try to make him more serious.
You talking 80s?
Yeah, 80s, early 90s when I was getting comic books to research. Spider-Man had a distinctive style of writing. He's more like how Deadpool is now.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's just a cracking funny, always funny character.
Okay, let's play a game. It's called Adrian Brody or Adam Brody. Now, close your eyes and open your mouth.
Hey guys, let's wrap this up. It's school night.
Yeah. And this definitely wasn't that kind of Peter Parker. Even though he was still young, he wasn't really cracking jokes like that. And I think I'm glad that they did that though. Even though like how, for example, in Superman, I was so mad how they did Clark Kent because it just wasn't Clark Kent. Here, this wasn't technically Peter Parker, but it fits because this was the 1930s. Like this is post-war. Men were hardened at this time. Like they weren't really cracking wise like that. These were hardened men who have been through some shit. They're not gonna be joking around.
Yeah, 17, 18-year-olds weren't fucking punk asses like we got running around right now.
Right.
Yeah, and it fit with the story style that they were trying to tell.
Right.
Like, I did want to talk about this one scene where he made it into that theater and all those dead people were in there.
Yeah.
Wow.
They've obviously been dead for a while. Like there's flies everywhere as soon as he pops his head in there. And he says, the smell reminds me of the night we found Uncle Ben. And I'm like, how long was Uncle Ben?
Right.
There's full-grown adult flies flying around and shit. Like you're covering your mouth with this thing so bad.
It's a full-grown fly.
Who is the major villain in this storyline?
It's hard to say. That is my one complaint about the comic.
Secret right now. They're saying it's what is it? They call him?
No, that's the thing.
Crime Master.
Dr. Octavius, I think, is technically the big thing right now. But the thing is that they also have this like sub character, the crime master, who's also like wreaking havoc in the city, which I didn't like. I actually don't like that a lot of superhero stories do this, where they try to incorporate too many elements at the same time. Because I feel like that's what killed, like, for example, Zack Snyder with Dawn of Justice. He did way too fucking much in that movie. If he had just stuck to one thing, he probably could have done all right. And then here they almost did the same thing, to where it's like, yeah, oh, we got this crime master guy and he's, you know, striking fear into everybody. But then, oh, also, by the way, Dr. Otto Octavius is performing illegal experiments on black people. But that's neither here nor there. You know? No.
We'll talk about that later. Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, like, you can't do that.
Dawn of Justice needed a lot of things to fix it.
And honestly, they were a little edgy with the whole monkey thing. I'm so, like, am I the only one that felt that way? Like, that was really edgy.
I was uncomfortable with that scene.
I was very uncomfortable with it. I was like, you can't do that, because here he is experimenting on the monkey, and then you got Sandman bringing in a shipload of you know, I'm like, no, I'm sorry. Like,
that's where it got bad for me. Like, the monkey, it was like, okay, all right, monkeys, but then they brought the fucking group of people, and it was like, y'all, what the fuck? Like, they just closed the loop. It's like, nope, this is what we're saying. Like,
yeah.
I think that was like they were solidifying his racism. Like, that was one step just below what he was fixing to do.
I'd
see
say
that animal, that monkey's face, dude. You can see the pain in that ape's face.
Yeah.
And that's probably the one panel that really got like, damn, dude, you can really see the pain in that monkey's face, man.
That's the panel that had me going, oh shit. Like,
yeah. But they used that to solidify his true nature, because he is going to be the big bad, and this crime master, so stupid. I thought it was gonna be Black Mask, which is also a stupid fucking character, man. Black Mask. I don't know why they use these subpar nothing characters. I mean, I know it's a plot, but I mean, it's just so stupid to have these characters that nobody. I don't think it's him though. It's a secret. It's going to be somebody else in the end. Go ahead, Daniel. Sorry.
But it's just to give you something to fucking watch while they're telling the story of Dr. Octavius, right? Like, they can't just give you this whole book of this boring detail of that final battle. There's got to be something happening. There's got to be a fight and him fucking beating the shit out of somebody and fucking the cat lady.
Right, and that's why I felt that was frivolous, because I'm like, they're really just catering to the reader to like build up this Dr. Octavius shit.
But they could, instead of just have the character, instead of putting him under a mask. There's somebody different under that mask. Go ahead, Alfred. Were you trying to say something?
No, I'm listening.
Oh, sorry. I was saying, I know there's somebody else in there. Just start out with that character. I guarantee you there's another character out there. We know who he is. We don't know.
Like, what Dan was saying though is true. Like they do use these characters to basically, it's to give the reader some action before you get to the main thing. Because if they were to just build up the Dr. Octavius thing without any of that, it would be a pretty boring read. If you're not into this detective style of storytelling.
Gotcha.
I will say this though, if they had maybe pushed the envelope with this Batman style that they had taken, then they could have done without, because a lot of Batman comics, they're still just building up the mystery, but it's interesting to watch him like beat up these goons, getting information about the main guy. You know what I mean? That's normally how Batman tackles the whole thing. So he'll run into a biker, club and fight off all these guys, and then the last one remaining, he'll be like, oh, where can I find the main guy that he's looking for? And then he'll be like, oh, he's in a warehouse by the pier or whatever. And then,
that's the new Batman.
Yeah, but I mean, if they would have followed that kind of storytelling, then they could have done without this crime master guy. But since they didn't, they needed the crime master guy to get the reader to keep reading until we finally got to Octavius.
You're saying, Christian, is it was lazy writing?
Yes. Yes. Again, it was frivolous. Catering to the reader.
With this
so they use this crime master guy as a bridge between pages.
Absolutely.
Just to tell the Octavius Dr. Octopus story.
Well,
Yeah.
well, they used it as a lazy draw to keep you in the book, so that they didn't have to flush out the Octavius story. They can just have little pieces of it in there, and then have this masked guy, which that's not him. He's not the crime master. He's somebody else under that mask, and we're not going to get to know until the end of the narrative. And it's not going to be that great, you know what I mean? So it's just going to be
Battling kids.
yeah. So they're using that so that they don't have to write a full story about Octavius, how he got that way, why he's doing what he's doing. You know what I'm saying? They're going to skip over all this. Now, this is a better story than most Marvel that I've read, you know, because they or lately, you know. But this is what Marvel does, man. They just touch on the main shit. They skip over the stuff that everybody really wants to know, the story within the story, you know. They're just telling that narrative and then using a sub-narrative, not a story, but a sub-narrative to get you through the first narrative, and instead of just telling the story, you know.
Yeah, no, it's true. Like for example, okay, so I'm gonna indulge in some Monday morning writing with Bob.
Hold on, let me grab a beer. Go ahead, I can hear you.
So, like, if I were to Monday morning write this, if I wanted to do without the crime master, so that I don't have to sit here and add this whole other character for the sake of bridging the beginning to Dr. Octavius, what you want to do is start with a missing persons case. This black guy's missing. Have Spider-Man look into that. And then slowly find clues that lead him to the fact that Dr. Otto Octavius is having black people shipped into this island where he's going to be performing illegal activities on them. But they didn't want to take that approach. Instead, they sit here and distract you with this whole other guy. And it upset me because I thought that that's the guy we were going to get into. I thought that this story was going to be, okay, crime master, what's his deal? But then all of a sudden he got pushed aside and now it's Dr. Otto Octavius with this shit. And I was like, wait a second, you know, like, which one is it?
Now you know Doc Ock is the big guy, because he's Doc Ock. You know? And he already defeated Goblin, so you know it's not him. Because he mentioned
right.
In the first couple pages, he mentioned that.
Can I complain about how Dr. Octopus's arms look more like fucking Mr. Krabs?
Mr. Krabs.
Yeah.
They were spiky and like.
I mean, I gotta say, I liked it. I thought it was an interesting take. So I agree with what Jay said earlier about how it seems that the movies got it wrong, because I like.
So wrong?
Yeah, like I like the way they tackled this guy because his arms actually look like spider arms, which fits the theme of a Spider-Man comic. But the fact that they're gonna still be calling him Dr. Octopus is, you know, out of theme, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I didn't care for
It was cool. It was a cool concept. It was drawn cool too. Like they had him looking like he needed them arms too.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, he was like a Stephen Hawking looking thing. Like,
Bruh, his little legs ain't grown.
Say that. Stephen Hawking and laugh. What's wrong with you guys?
Sorry.
oh, Dad said it. His legs hadn't grown since he was like 12.
He was the stand-in for Deadpool 2 when he got ripped in half.
Oh, Bob, did you just say stand in, bro?
What's that?
Too soon? Not too soon.
I didn't. He doesn't look from those things on his wheelchair. It looks like I can get a 2x4 and just wrap them motherfuckers up and just be done with it and then clubber them to death with it. You know, just like clank, clank, and just be done. It's over with.
All right. Now we're listening to Bob talk about how he'll beat a guy in a wheelchair.
Oh my gosh.
Would be Doc Ock. I mean, you know, like.
Sounds terrible when you say it like that.
Look, you can't even walk. How hard is this gonna be?
Why you gonna get me a 2x4?
Lord have mercy.
Oh my God.
Lord have mercy.
So Jim Duggan.
Hey, Bob, you hear that? It's hell calling.
You don't want to accept.
Lord have mercy. How did you get wrapped up in with these guys in the one night you decided to join?
Oh, this is nothing. She's been on several shows with us.
She's been on a few shows with us. She writes with us too.
So you read Spider-Man and Ninjak, or that's two different shows?
That's two different shows. We read them.
Okay. How would you compare the New York Spider-Man to the 1990s Ninjak?
Terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible, and I say that with no hesitation. Like I was just telling them that I feel like it was a mistake to read Spider-Man Noir first, and then read Ninjak.
Sure, right.
You mean you saying Ninjak was terrible?
Compared to Spider-Man Noir, yeah. In my opinion.
Even Blowtorch, man. Blowtorch has got fucking heads and shoulders over
Over Ninjak for sure, yeah.
don't even compare, man.
Blowtorch is I write that recently, but Ninjak was the beginning of Valiant with Armor Lines. I forgot the name of the title. Armor Lines, Toruk. You know, this is the same stage as Image when they started out. But at one point they did the Death Mate Valiant Image crossover to bring popularity to the books. Yeah, well, you know, those comic books back then is like an empty sandwich. You know what I mean? So it's more or less a pinup show. It's more or less a artist. Because most of these comic books that was coming out now it's backed by writers. You know what I mean? Everybody's a writer. That gets a crew. Back then it was artists that wanted to do their own book. So the writing was secondary. Everything was a portfolio of their art style. So you know you had the Tommy McFarlane. You ever had Tommy McFarlane, you had Jim Lee, you had Mark Silvestri, you had Valentino, you had the guys that did Valiant and Toruk, and these guys are more established in the art style than the storyline. So the stories are always like limited. You know what I mean? Like the conversation wasn't kind of too realistic because it is filling in word balloons to pages that look cool. You know what I mean?
Let's get credit for the story and everything. You know what I'm saying? They would have to set up the whole storyline from synopses and shit. So
yeah, well, you know, they did this thing called the Marvel Way, but they didn't do a script. They did a plot and just gave it to the artists. The artists have to draw a plot into 22 pages, and then they will go back and fill in the word balloon. So a lot of times the word balloons didn't even fit. But just like, we gotta make a dialogue.
That's true. Actually, let me show you guys something. I'll be right back. When I was younger,
I did not read it.
It's all right.
What, Ninjak?
Yeah, I didn't read it.
No, it's fine. You didn't miss out.
Christian only read it.
If you read Ninjak now, if you read that Ninjak now, it's gonna be empty. You know what I mean? Because you look for now, because you read a book for the storyline and what grabs you in the storyline. Back then, you look at a book for like a portfolio. You didn't even read it. You just flip through it. You know what I mean?
That makes sense. It's interesting you mentioned the Marvel way, because I remember when I was younger, I was, you know, an aspiring comic book artist, and this was one of the books that I read.
They tell you that it was not dialogue heavy. It was art.
It was
heavy.
It was all art based. Yeah, like they showed you just how to like do the art, and the writing was an afterthought.
I'll tell you, I've checked out in the library, man. I've checked out books just like that in the library when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Alfred?
No, I'm just saying that for that time period, especially when the new independents like Valiant, Dark Horse, and Image was started, they were the main thing was to compete with the artwork of Marvel and DC, not the storylines.
Right.
So, how can we make this book as flashy as Batman? How can we make this book as flashy as Thor or Fantastic Four, which was big back then, or you know what I'm saying, something like that? Like we gotta make our characters stand out. more than these characters. So when you get these characters books from then, like Ninjak, Ash, and everybody that tried to start the first run of independent comics, it's all about being flashy with the character to compete with the characters that are selling, to break out the circle of the characters that are selling, which is Marvel and DC.
That makes sense.
So, you know, like when I wrote back then, when I started writing back then, I was writing superheroes, and it's all about just like, you know, make 2 panels of a guy flying and pushing a plane up or asteroid, or, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't story driven. It's more like, you know, like say Star Wars now, which is a CGI effect. It's just explosions. You know what I mean? The storyline don't make no sense, but it's just a bunch of explosions. Or Fast and Furious.
All production.
Yeah.
It's just all stunts and CGI and explosions, but the storyline's stupid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's how I used to write comic books. It's like, you know, you got this guy like Superman. What can he do? You know what I'm saying? Punch a guy through a mountain, make the mountain explode. You know what I'm saying? Lift up cars and tanks. You know what I'm saying? So the dialogue became secondary because these guys you gotta make these guys talk to each other. So that's gonna be like, well, this guy's getting punched across the city and crashing through buildings, and buildings are falling down and falling on people. But what's he gonna say? Like in real, like, you know, like how can you make them have a conversation outside the action? You know what I'm saying? So then you put in word balloons like, here, take this. Bam. You're going to learn today. I will stop. You know what I'm saying? And then the word balloons become like...
Dude, that makes so much sense.
I personally don't like that shit. For me, I personally don't like that talking and saying that stuff during a fight.
Right.
Like, I would say like maybe one of the characters would have that characteristic, talking shit during a fight, or maybe both, you know, sometimes. But like for me, I didn't talk shit during fights. I just fucking fought. I threw fists. That was it. Like, you could talk all the shit you want. I didn't have time. I was cracking teeth.
Yeah, and the normal thing, people don't talk, have a conversation. People don't say, well, I'm gonna punch you on one. I'm gonna heat you up with my heat vision. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, but in the comic book, if they just did all action, it wouldn't have no dialogue. So they had to add dialogue, and dialogue would be added afterwards. So
listen, man, nobody does fight scenes as bad as fucking anime. I can't stand anime fight scenes. They run like 2 episodes because these guys are just non-stop
It's that.
talking.
Sometimes it's longer.
Dude, I was watching this new anime show on Netflix, and I got 5 episodes in. It was still the same battle, and I was like, fuck it, dude, I'm done. Well, that's tonight's show, guys. It seems like everybody really enjoyed Spider-Man Noir, Spider-Man Man Without a Face is what it is. And shit, I might go get the second issue. I don't know. We'll see what's going on. But thanks, Alfred, for showing up, man. We appreciate you coming in.
thank you.
We're doing Ninjak next week. That'll be on Monday, so not this coming Monday. Anyway, we'll see y'all next time.
Bye.
Finally.